this root. Now, you have to realize, 40 years after we purchased the scroll, we purchased this. And I would point out to you the connection between this object, which is the root, and this object on the scroll, which is a root, and it looks almost the same. And the reason why that happens is that painters actually painted from objects, some of which are called scholars' rocks, where they would paint mountain scenes from a rock on a table. This one happens to be a scholar's root. And so this object was used for the purpose of showing the root structure in the scroll. But I think what also you might notice is the amount of open space there is in Chinese scrolls. And it's not busy, it's very calming, and there's space in the scroll besides the objects.
Very beautiful.
Thank you.
So behind us, Gary, I'm looking at this incredible display cabinet, better known in today's world as a break front, a piece where you would display objects of art, smaller objects of art. And I know there's a story behind this one.
Definitely, yes. This is actually a Japanese break front or display cabinet, probably from the 1890s, maybe 1880s, 1890s. And this is really a feature object of our collection, and we found it. It was one of the first pieces that we actually bought. We found it in East Hampton, Long Island, and all of you who are from New York will recognize East Hampton, Long Island, because most of you have been there, and if you haven't, it's a great place to go. But this is, again, probably 40 years ago that we found this, and it was in a barn in the back of a property of a woman who sold Asian art. But Hope was with me at the time and found this in the back of this barn, which was poorly lit, so you couldn't really see what it was. Called me over and said, "That's beautiful." I said, "I agree." And so this piece was brought to Providence, where we lived, and was one of the featured display pieces. What you did was, in the displays, you put different objects in here. These happen to be Chinese, but the Japanese would put their own Japanese ceramics, or statues, or jade pieces, or any other, what we would call tchotchkes, in their display cabinet.
Looks like these neat little drawers.
Yes, it's got doors and drawers that slide and open. It's made out of 3 different types of wood, one of which is a camphor wood, which has birds, carved birds with ivory eyes. And these are like sliding doors, and they open and they close just like a sliding door in a house. There are also very intricate carvings that you can see in here. Each one is a picture of a carving of a different subject. So
and it's wonderful the way you have it displayed here on like a mantle.
Yes, and we give full credit to our interior designer, who not only displayed this object, but all the rest of the objects that we have here, and enhanced our collection of art. I think part of the showing of great art is also great interior design and lighting. Lighting is extremely important. Mm-hmm. If you have a great piece of art that's poorly lit or not lit at all, it detracts actually from the object itself. And so we have this at night. It shows up beautifully lit up.
It's great. There's no question about that.
Thank you.
We're going to move on now.
Okay.
Okay. Gary,
Yes.
I need you to introduce me to this lovely lady.
This lovely lady's name is Kuan Yin. She is from the 13th and 14th century, which is specifically called Yuan Ming. And the great story about this is that I always loved a seated Kuan Yin and was never able to find one that I loved that was in my price range. And luckily, maybe 7, 8 years ago, we went to a dealer and I was able to exchange some of my other objects for this Kuan Yin. This is a seated, obviously, seated Kuan Yin in a position of what's called royal ease. Now, the position of the hands of these sculptings are very meaningful because you will see that there could be a Kuan Yin with hand position not like this, but each meaning there's probably 13 different hand positions of these Kuan Yins, and each one means something. But the position of royal ease is actually one of the more common positions. But I've always had a lust for a seated Kuan Yin, probably not to the extent of Jimmy Carter's lust, but definitely loved this statue. This is a beautiful example of Chinese sculpting.
It really is. Look at the features here. The
And if you
detail
see
in
the
mouth,
features there, this
the nose.
is a stucco piece. What it has is an armature, which is wood. It's made out of clay, straw, and horsehair. And so it is a stucco finish, very delicate. And we hope people who come in do not poke and touch the object.
For
because
looking
it is
only.
very delicate. Yes.
Great piece, Gary.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
we're ready to move on.
Okay.
So we've moved on in now to the beautiful kitchen family room area. And Gary, you've got this one enormous wall covered with what looks like a scroll in 3 pieces framed beautifully. Here's another story you can tell us.
There is. At one time, this was one scroll. It's obviously horizontal. It was 26 feet long. Of course, there's no 26-foot long wall to hang it on, so we divided it into 3 separate pieces. This seems destructive, but there are ways to put these back together that are easy to do and would not destroy the integrity of the scroll. Basically, being a horizontal scroll, it tells a story. And the story is a mythological story. Along with the mythological story, which is the lower picture, are writings on top, which are commentaries from others about the scroll. Now, the scroll is 16th century, 1500s more or less. And so through the years, when there was a collector, which there were even then, who owned the scroll, other people who were collectors, painters, or literati would want to visit and see the scroll. And so what happened was that when they visited and looked at the scroll, they would comment on it. This would be similar to let's say, a Picasso looking at a Rembrandt and making notes about what he saw. It would be an interesting thing. It just isn't done in that medium, but it is done in Chinese culture. This is the Pao Chi Classics, it's called. And so it's a very famous classical story that starts actually in what's called the Song Dynasty, which is 10th century, 11th century. The classic itself was possibly painted This one wasn't, but the original one was possibly painted in the Song Dynasty, and as opposed to today where they call them copies, these were redone in another dynasty by another, and this one happens to be a well-known painter. So I'd like to tell you about one of the comments. By the way, there are seal marks on these paintings instead of a signature like in today's painters where they signed their work. The Chinese had seal marks, and these were generally soapstone versus soft stone with their signatures on the bottom. They would put their signature on the painting. And this one has one in the corner, you can see. So I would like to read a commentary from someone who saw this scroll after it was done maybe a couple of hundred years later. So,
Please do.
This is actually the fifth one down, which is, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 commentaries on the scroll. This one was done by an artist in the 1500s. He's the president of the Board of Rights. This is a big universe, and there are many strange things. To eliminate them requires requires superb skill and greatest ability. This painting is one of the greatest achievements of Qin Ying. Those who see it should not belittle it. Seen and certified by Qin Chang, followed by 2 seals, which you can see, the 2 seals here, and that was his commentary on the scroll.
Thank you. Hope, would you do us the honor of coming in and I understand that there's a great story behind this. I know you'll be able to relay that to us.
Oh, I certainly would love to. This is Harati, and she's a goddess, and she was known as the killer of children. Well, the king took away her child, and I don't know if you can see this up close, but the child, they put this young child in a bottle, and she was very, very, very distraught. She cried, and she went to the king, and she pleaded to him, I will be wonderful, I will behave, I will never kill a child, but please let our child go. So the king was really, really nice, and all of this is very symbolic of soldiers and everything else. And the king let the child go. And after that, she was very lucky and very happy, and she was known as the protector of children, and she had 500 children of her own.
Very busy lady.
A very busy lady. So that is the basic story of this, and of course it tells it a long, 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 long tale with many different symbols.
That's great. That's great. I think that really wraps it up. We've had just an incredible morning here. The shame of it is we could spend hours, maybe even days, looking at all there is to see in the Prescott household. They have had quite a varied background. They've certainly done their job in seeking out incredible pieces, and as Gary said before, displaying them magnificently, which really is so important if you're going to have a collection of this high level. I can't thank them enough for spending the time with us, been very gracious to let us into their home, and we look forward to maybe additional visits here.
Thank you, Rhonda.
Thank you so much.
Yep.